Hello, welcome to Divided Nexus Pet Stories YouTube channel. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe, and enjoy the video. This is the story of Lily of Tamriel, the White Shiver's epic. In the Second Era of Tamriel, amidst the clashing steel of the Three Banners War, most legends were told of towering Nords or mystical Altmer. Yet whispered in the taverns of Daven's Watch was the tale of a different kind of warrior, Lily the White Fur. She was a creature of immense presence packed into a snowy, compact frame, possessing ears so large and perfectly folded they were said to tune into the whispers of the Dedrick princes themselves. While others sought the ruby throne, Lily's ambitions were far more practical and immediate, usually involving the acquisition of premium dried meats. Her origins remained a delightful enigma to the scholars of the Mages Guild. Some theorized she was the failed experiment of a Telvanni wizard who attempted to shrink a stench rot, while others believed she was an ancient spirit of luck manifested in the form of a shivering, four-legged cloud. Regardless of her lineage, Lily moved through the world with a regal confidence that suggested she owned every cobblestone she deigned to step upon. She didn't bark at the chaos of the war. She simply observed it with large, dark eyes that seemed to judge the tactical failings of every general in the pact. One humid afternoon, Lily sat perched upon her velvet-lined crate near the marketplace, her customary throne of observation. From this vantage point, she caught a scent that bypassed her physical hunger and spoke directly to her soul, a masterfully cured, spiced ham. It was being carried by Verena Streth, a mid-ranking Dunmer officer, who was navigating the crowded streets with an air of self-importance. To Verenus, it was a peace offering for the city commander. To Lily, it was a challenge that required a tactical intervention. Lily descended from her crate with the silent grace of a Dark Brotherhood assassin. She didn't use the shadows. She used her sheer cuteness as a cloaking device, pattering behind the officer with a tail that wagged in a slow, hypnotic rhythm. The silver bell on her collar provided a faint, rhythmic chime that blended seamlessly with the ambient noise of the market. As Verenus ducked into a quiet alleyway to avoid the main thoroughfare, Lily knew the moment for the Shiver strike had finally arrived. With a sudden burst of speed that defied her tiny stature, Lily bolted between the officer's greaves. The distraction was momentary but perfect. As Verenus stumbled to regain his footing, Lily's small but precise jaws snapped at the twine holding the delivery sack. The bag tore open with a satisfying rip, and the glorious, glistening ham tumbled onto the stone floor. It was a flawless execution of a plan that would have made the guildmaster of the Thieves' Guild nod in silent, begrudging approval. Verenus spun around, his hand flying to the hilt of his dagger as he shouted an oath to Vivek. He expected a cutpurse or a stray wolf, but instead he found a tiny white chihuahua standing defiantly over his prize. Lily did not retreat. She simply looked up at him, her folded ears framing a face of absolute calm. She took a single, deliberate lick of the ham, asserting her claim over the spoils of war in a way that felt strangely official. The commotion drew a small crowd of onlookers, including a few off-duty soldiers who began to snicker at the sight of a seasoned officer being held at bay by a handful of fur. "It's the tiny terror," one scout whispered, pointing at the dog. Verenus, his face turning a shade of purple that rivaled his Dunmer skin, lunged forward to reclaim the meat. In response, Lily let out a single, piercing yap and began to shiver with such high-frequency intensity that the officer actually paused, fearing some sort of localized magical discharge. Before the situation could escalate further, the heavy footsteps of Commander Boric echoed through the alley. The massive Nord looked down at his disgraced officer, the ruined ham, and the diminutive white dog who seemed entirely unimpressed by his presence. Boric's laughter was so loud it startled a nearby flock of pigeons into flight. He declared that any officer who could be outmaneuvered by a creature that weighed less than a helmet had no business transporting sensitive cargo, much less leading men into battle. As a punishment for his clumsiness, Verenus was sent to the barracks to polish shields for a week. Boric, an admirer of courage in all sizes, reached into his own supply satchel and pulled out a thick strip of premium venison jerky. He tossed it to Lily, noting that her siege tactics were the most entertaining thing he'd seen since The siege of Cyrodiil, Lily caught the treat with a practiced snap of her jaws, giving the commander a short, respectful nod before trotting back toward her crate. By nightfall, the bards were already tuning their lutes to compose the Ballad of the White Shiver. Lily settled back onto her cushion, the silver collar tinkling softly as she enjoyed her hard-earned prize in the glow of the mage light. She hadn't stopped the plane melt or closed an oblivion gate, but she had secured the best snack. In Daven's Watch, in the vast world of the Elder Scrolls, where gods and monsters roam, Lily proved that sometimes the smallest heroes have the biggest impact, especially when ham is involved. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this story. If you did, make sure to like and subscribe for more content, and until next time, stay super.